Hey everyone, this is Joshua Kirk here with you once again, and now it's time for episode 158 of Album of the Day, in which today I'm going to be reviewing the new album from a UK-based indie rock band that had been around since, I believe 2008, and since then have been getting some widespread acclaim, and have released 3 records as of right now. Their debut album, which was self-titled in 2009, as well as their second record, Coexist, in 2012. And I'm here to review their latest album today. I'm talking about the band known as the XX. Now, I don't necessarily have the best knowledge or anything like that of the XX. No offense to the XX diehards out there, is out there. I'm still kind of learning about them. But I am here to review their latest record, which I do really like, which came out on January 13th, 2017, and the album is called I See You. This is the CD version of it right here. Really, this is one of the first albums this year that I really fell in love with, alongside the new Ty Segall and the new Ryan Adams and a few others, and the new Foxygen as well. This record, is definitely one I've been wanting to review for a little while, because it definitely is one of my absolute favorite records of the year so far. And in fact, for a pretty fair amount of time, this was my favorite record of the year so far, even though I would say there are a few others that I've listened to lately that I think might actually beat it, but anyway, there's, the cover, really cool sort of clear packaging. There's the back. And this isn't actually like the actual album cover of the record. The actual album cover is kind of blue, and, it's kind of a metallic sort of, mirror of, each of the band members, shadows, it looks like, which the band consists of guitarist and singer-songwriter Romy Madley Croft, bassist and singer-songwriter Oliver Sim, as well as producer, programmer, and DJ Jamie Smith, or Jamie XX, as he's called on his debut solo record, In Color, and on his, remix, sort of, and on his remixes that he's made, which I did review In Color. Amazing record, definitely one of the best of 2015. Anyway, there's the CD. And there's a booklet which has the lyrics in there. And I love this album so much that I might actually expand it to the vinyl format one day. And there's some, some sort of poem on the back of it that's backwards, and I have been able to read it once, but may not read it in the video though. Anyway, that's the packaging for the new XX album, I See You. Now this record, has, definitely, it sounds a little bit it sounds pretty much like, what you would expect from the XX, but, a little different. I've heard many people say that Jamie XX's solo record, In Color, actually does influence the sound of this new album from the XX, too. XX, too. And also, I've heard it described as by far the XX's most positive and optimistic kind of record yet. I mean, if you just listen to the lyrics, and even the sound of this record, too, is, pretty optimistic as well. The stick as well. The song optimistic as well. And and also there are definitely plenty of samples to be found on this record as well. And it's definitely an amazing record. I feel the XX have definitely come out with their most ambitious and by far one of their most engaging projects yet. Even though, like I said, I still need to listen to more of the XX, like their debut album, and I've listened to a little bit of Coexist, and to be honest, didn't really care that much for it, but I feel this record is a huge step forward from that record, and I think anyone who really likes their first album and was kind of on the fence with Coexist, I think are gonna really enjoy this record. And Jamie comes through with some of his best production on an XX album yet. I mean, just look at the opening track, Dangerous, blaring horns over a funky bass line and a steady beat that reminds me of something he could have done on In Color. And the lyrics of the song are sort of, about the narrator is saying they say that we're in danger, but I disagree because I'm going to pretend that I'm not scared. So it's kind of pretty optimistic take at people looking at you the wrong way, looking at you as a dangerous person. Pretty much, don't let that interfere with who you are. And definitely does tie into the themes of the album really well, and definitely a great opener for the record, and then of course like Oliver Sim and Bromy definitely have a lot of chemistry to their parts vocally and lyrically, that's for sure. Sure, and the part where the horns really do pop is really in that hook. I mean, the hook on this song is just incredible. Incredible. It definitely and it definitely sort of has kind of some of that Caribbean flavor that was really so prominent on his on Jamie XX's solo debut, In Color. And following that is by far probably the most optimistic song in the record, musically and lyrically, the song Say Something Loving. One of the more romantic songs in the record, but also at the same time very introspective. There's definitely a sense of introspection to be found to the record as well. Lyrics, with lyrics about it's on the lyrics, Romy kind of seems to be on the more optimistic side, while Oliver seems to be on more kind of the introspective kind of side, with lines that he says like, I do myself a disservice to feel this weak, to be this nervous, and also with a line but then also Romy saying things like, here come my insecurities, I almost expect you to leave, and lyrics like, am I too needy, am I too eager, but yeah, definitely a great song, incredibly catchy hook on the song, has a, really good upbeat feel to it, and also has an interesting texture going on to the beat, which definitely, which definitely has kind of a Caribbean-inspired sort of flavor to it, and of course Romy comes through with that celestial reverbed guitar that she's known for, and also love the incorporation on the song of a sample from Alessi's Do You Feel It? Before it slips away. Definitely does fit well in the song. And then there's the song Lips, which is also very sample driven. Contains a sample from Just After Song of Songs performed by Trio Medieval. So that's the kind of, female trio harmonized vocal sample that you hear on the track. Just your love, just your shadow. and I definitely love the incorporation of it. It's definitely very creatively used over, the kind of plucked string melody and uh, plucked string melody and the kind of clubby beat and keys and even the guitar kind of sounds has kind of a nightclub kind of vibe going on to it as well. And one of the more sensual songs on the record, lyrically a little bit, with lines like "Now you set the scene, high on intimacy, drawing me above." But then he also sort of shows that, but then the narrator also does kind of bring up more kind of, more kind of the introspective side of it, like I don't want to know the way down, and also like such a catchy refrain on that song. And following that was definitely one of my favorite songs on the record, the song "A Violent Noise." By far, definitely, one of the best written songs on the record. It's sung mostly by Oliver Sim and probably written mostly by him as well. But kind of a song sort of about picturing this, this person who's, in this nightclub and goes there all the time. And, and when he goes out, every beat now just seems like a violent noise the more he goes there. And he tries to see my, and he does hear a melody sung, but the voices just seem kind of unfamiliar, and it's kind of a lot for him to take in. But then Romy, with the second verse, sort of tries to convince him, I hope you stop the noise and, try to find good in this situation. And also, I do love kind of the rising synths and beats on the song that makes the song just sound that much more climactic and beautiful and full over Romy's very nice guitar riff, guitar riff, following that is. Following that, one of the quieter songs on the record, which is the song "Performance," which is definitely one of the most poetic songs on the record lyrically. It's sort of, she's in a situation where, Romy's kind of in kind of an insecure situation, and she's just kind of, trying to put on a brave face and sort of wondering, if I put on a disguise, will you think everything's alright, and will you, not know about my problems that I'm having? And then in the chorus, she really does reveal how she's kind of trying to sort of deal with those fears that she's having by, sort of likening, her trying to move on and her trying to put the pieces back together. It's this performance that she's putting on, this, and her own show that she's running now. It's very poetic. And also, I love the production on this song. Beautiful guitar riff on the song, the bass line, and and also has a really gorgeous string backdrop as well, and the bass and a good bass line too, which adds some structure to its very stripped back sound. And also at the end, you get this really haunting, and towards the end of the song, you get this really kind of haunting and thing, and kind of sudden and and kind of dark violin line, which is actually Jamie actually does play a violin part on this song. So that kind of ragged, sort of, beautifully sort of voluminous sound that you get out of a voluminous violin sound. I think it might actually be him, but it sounds really beautiful, over the nice over the nice orchestral backdrop. Whereas the orchestral backdrop sounds a little more traditional, the violin part that Jamie is playing on the song is a little more off-kilter and a little more... The imperfection is what makes it sound so cool. Then there's the song Replica, which definitely has some interesting textures to the beat as well, and some really nice, and the piano just, feels right at home on there, on that song, which is played by Jamie as well. Well, and also kind of, the percussive, textures almost to the guitars and the samples as well. It almost has kind of that, almost, it's probably the most reggae-oriented song in the album, musically as well. Like, it definitely it reminds me a little bit of the song Ovs off of In Color a little bit in terms of the production. And like, lyrically, this song, is song. And I forgot to mention how the song Say Something Loving really does show the band's, chemistry, of mystery of their musical talents. Like Romy's, reverby guitar riff, Oliver Sims, really nice bass line, and, Jamie XX's beat with that kind of Caribbean vibe to it, I already mentioned that. But like, the song lyrically is, kind of a song which again sees Oliver Sim in a pretty introspective moment, pretty much, sort of mirroring situations, an accurate imitation, do I watch and repeat, and like, that sort of leaves his peers to say, like, I will become a replica, and that, and that your mistakes were only chemical. But cool. And also I do like kind of, the harmonized, vocals, like, which do sound really nice in that part towards the end, and which has this really beautiful sort of harmonized synth part. Then there's by far the most touching song on the record, the song Brave for You, which sees Romy sort of, again, sort of in a situation where, she's feeling a little insecure and it doesn't really make sense to her, and, and she doesn't really know how to make of it. But this one's a little more optimistic, as she sort of remembers her parents, sort of, she envisions, her parents there sort of telling him to be brave and tell her to do the things that she's afraid to do, because that's the only way to help her get through life and, finally sort of get where she needs to be, pretty much. And this is a song sort of dedicated in memory to his parents, because apparently I heard that her parents passed away. And also, like, I am just, and also over, that really kind of euphoric guitar riff, and, the booming bass drums, and the very bright, punchy synths, and, and that really cool, climactic bass breakdown, towards the end. I mean, I'm almost moved to tears whenever I listen to this song, pretty much. So whenever I listen to this song, and like Romy does give off pretty emotional vocal performance for these lyrics. The lead single from this album is the song On Hold, which actually was released, the day after Election Day, apparently, for those of you that didn't know. And this song is definitely the perfect choice for a lead single, and it actually has a pretty good place, kind of towards the end of the record, pretty much. It actually is the kind of song that wouldn't really make sense as really the centerpiece. I have a feeling the song's performance and Replica make more sense as, centerpieces than this one does. One does, pretty much. But, like, this song, just the beat and the hook on the song, my god, is this song so catchy. It's definitely one of the best singles that dropped sort of later um, last year. And of course, like, there are definitely themes on this song about, like, growing up, like, especially on, like, some of Oliver Sim's parts, like, with lines like, "Now you found the new star to orbit, it could be love. I think you're too soon to call us old. When and where did we go cold? I thought I had you on hold." And then of course, like, Romeo and Oliver Sim sort of really does show how, how definitely, how sort of, heavenly their voices are, and, like, really kind of, the chemistry that, they and like I said, amazing production on the song. And like, one of my favorite elements of the song is, there's a sample on this song of a Hall and Oates song, "I Can't Go for That, No Can Do," which is sort of pitched down just to make it sound real cartoonish and glitchy. But I love the way that it's incorporated into the hook on this song. "Where does it stop? Where does it stop?" It's so peppy. B. And then there's the song "I Dare You," which, is sort of a song sort of, talking about kind of, this, relationship that's not necessarily dying, but like, at the moment, seems to be, kind of feeling like kind of a different kind of high, pretty much, and how, a rush of blood, is not enough. And actually bringing up lyrics about, like, like getting, finally kind of getting chills, and, like, heart rate multiplying over kind of, the, like, over this love, pretty much, like, like, despite her being a romantic for so long, so, like, the title "I Dare You" and that being the hook actually kind of makes sense in the context of the story of the song. And I like kind of the siren-y synth sounds towards the end of the song, and the way that the synth kind of rises a little bit, in just a little bit in notes as well. It kind of sounds inspired by orchestral music a little bit, and that steady guitar riff. And, like, the bass line and the beat actually sound kind of 80s inspired a little bit, but definitely in a good way. The album closes out with the song "Test Me," which, while the song, it would probably be my least favorite track, like, if I had to pick one, I still do think this song is a really nice way to close out the record, pretty much, One of the more minimalist songs on the album. I mean, at the beginning it's mostly, like, piano and, like, a little brass backdrop, for the kind of, for this sort of hook on here. And, like, kind of Romy's beautiful lead vocal, and kind of three-part gang vocals between all three band members. And, it's the sentiment of the song is relatively simple, like, "Test me, see if I break," but fits so well in the context of this record. But the part of this song that really wowed me was, was like that 2-minute outro, where, which is really gorgeous and features these really beautiful kind of reverbed, like, spooky vocal harmonies over a subtle squealing synth, and, a synth and a pretty, and kind of a, and a pretty, simplistic beat, which, just, especially towards the end, once you get, like, the piano and all these weird electronic edits over the outro, again, this is another moment on the record where I'm just moved to tears when listening to it, because it is, so beautiful. So yeah, definitely an amazing record. I don't have too many complaints about it. I probably have one of the most positive reviews of this record like on this channel probably, but it's such a great record, and I definitely highly recommend it. Whether you're an XX fan or if you're just now discovering it the way I am. Yeah, but whoever you are, I think you're going to like this record pretty much. I mean, I think it's hard to, imagine someone not really, like, falling in love with this record. I mean, I mean, there are some people that may just admire the record more than they love it, but, it's definitely a record that's pretty, you could probably sit down, you could probably sit down one of the snobbiest music persons out there, and I'm sure they would still think this record was pretty damn good. So yeah, I'm definitely going with a strong 9 out of 10 for this new XX album, I See You. Definitely one of the earliest records this year that was definitely pretty solid from front to back, back, in a month that wasn't incredibly fruitful for music releases in the sense of really strong records, but like in the case of I See You, it definitely still had plenty to offer that was still very good. Anyway, that's my review of the new XX album, I See You, and I'll see you for episode 159.